Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness. Is anyone out there still ritually poisoning themselves while calling it going out for drinks? That is what our guest today posted on his Instagram a few weeks ago, which caught my attention. In fact, it caught the attention of a great friend of mine who tagged me in the Instagram post, and I came across our guest today's Instagram, which is amazing. And he said some really profound things about alcohol, which I was, for the most part, almost entirely 100% in alignment with. And so I decided to reach out and invite him onto today's show. His name is Ihsan Abass. Or Ihsan Abass. I've got the pronunciation wrong a couple of times, but Ihsan Abass, he is a spiritual teacher and a coach, and he's based in Costa Rica. And I'm sensing that he and I are very much in alignment about how we perceive alcohol in the world. Ihsan, welcome. Great to have you here, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here to be diving deep with you on this, and I appreciate you reaching out and recognizing the resonance between my message and what you've been really helping people through for many years now. So yeah, it's a true honor. Thank you.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to read out 7 or 8 of the posts that you made on your Instagram account calling out alcohol for what it is, which is straight up poison. And I've been calling alcohol attractively packaged poison for some time, so I really appreciated you doing something similar. And then what I'd love to do is just ask you to maybe elaborate or clarify what you mean on that. Just before I do that, though, I'd just love to know a little bit more about you. Tell our listener who you are and what you do, and yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Ihsan Abass. It's pronounced eyes in, and I am on this path of remembrance, helping people connect deeper into the essence of their being. I'm a teacher at the Great Mystery School with my wife Shanti, and we host retreats, we host workshops, we are essentially friends and guides along this path of remembrance and this path of expansion. I do a lot of work with men currently as well, hosting men's retreats. I have my men's group with the fellowship, and this is just the path of remembrance, as I've said, and a soul-led mission to connect with aligned folks on their path of awakening. So
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So one of the things you said on your Instagram was what I said in the beginning of this episode, which was, is anyone out there still ritually poisoning themselves while calling it, quote, going out for drinks, end quote? Tell us what you meant by that.
well, the line came to me, right? Because I've been saying that alcohol is a true poison, and it's interesting how it's classified in our society as a drug, and it kind of gets hidden under this thing that it's a drug. And because drugs are widely accepted in society, it's just normal. But when we think of alcohol as a poison, it really brings into our awareness, like, what is it that we're ingesting? And it's interesting too, because it's so widely socially acceptable to go out every weekend and to drink. And so this thing came to me. It's like we're ritually poisoning ourselves and kind of fooling ourselves by calling it going out for drinks. And that's kind of how the line came. And it definitely sparked a bit of a controversy in the comment section for sure.
Yeah. Why do you feel that alcohol is straight up poison as opposed to, it's all right, it's just something that we do. Yeah, we know there's a few little side effects. But poison is a very strong word. Like, why do we feel like alcohol is, strictly speaking, poison?
Yeah. So let's look at what the definition of poison is, right? Because it's easy to just make inflammatory statements like this, but let's actually look at what the definition of a poison is. So I pulled this up yesterday in preparation for our call today. So Merriam-Webster's dictionary, right, defines a poison as a substance that through its chemical action usually kills, injures, or impairs an organism. And so if we look at alcohol, right, it definitely leads to a lot of death, whether through drunk driving, whether through domestic violence, whether through fits of rage, fights at clubs and all this stuff. So it definitely does lead to death. It leads to injuries, and it impairs an organism. And so, by the very definition of what a poison is, when we look at what alcohol does, it fits that definition perfectly. And so, when we look at also the way the substance works on the body, it is literally activated as a poison. It is going and essentially attacking your brain. It is attacking your organs. It is attacking every cell in your body. It is actually the only drug, so to speak, if we want to call it a drug in the way that society labels it. It's the only drug that attacks the entire body as a whole. And so for me, my direct experience, my understanding of the substance and its effects, just from sheer logic, it's like, this is poison.
In a very attractive bottle.
In a very attractive bottle and in various many forms, and the thing is, like, and I know you're going to get to one of the slides here, but that's part of it too. The way it's marketed, the way it's packaged, the way it's diluted, the way we mix it, the way it's part of culture, and many cultures as well. So it's like this fixture of purification of the spiritual wounds to keep us really stuck where we are, So yeah, and that's why the last thing I said was alcohol is a straight poison. Changed my mind. It was an open invitation. Somebody change my mind, please. I'm open to being corrected. I'm open to seeing things differently. Somebody changed my mind here. And nobody could. Nothing that was shared, nothing that was said was carried any weight, was valid, was logical. It was a whole bunch of, uh, anecdotal direct experience, justifications, projections, misdirections. So I mean, I'm open, man.
You said that the origin of the word alcohol comes from the Arabic word al-ghul. And I've actually seen some previous research which suggests it comes from the Arabic word alcohol. And my understanding was alcohol means body-eating spirit. In your post, you said it comes from the Arabic word al-ghul, which literally means spirit, but that the spirit is one of a self-eating nature. It must feed upon a host in order to survive. So I think, do you know whether it's al-ghul or al-kahul? I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. This sounds so similar that the meaning is almost identical. But do you know which one is accurate?
So thankfully to my cousin, who speaks a lot better Arabic than I do, he reached out to me after this post and was like, I think you've gotten this wrong. And it's actually the origin of alcohol is alcohol. And alcohol means essentially like powder. Alcohol is like powder, and it's referring to the way they extracted the alcohol. And so him and I really dissected this. So what I've come to understand is the way the energy is trapped within these words. And so when you look at alcohol being the root word of alcohol, we get misdirected. This is my true, this is what I've received as the truth. And I'll leave this for people to find their own truth within this. I feel alcohol being the description of the powder and the extraction method to make alcohol. I feel like that is a misdirection into the origins of the word and the energy attached into the word. Now, in the Quran, him and I connected to this one verse in the Quran that speaks about in heaven, and I'm paraphrasing here for my diehard Muslims. Please forgive me, but it this one verse speaks about in heaven you will receive wine that does not have al ghul or a demon. Oh, sorry, al ghul, or it will not intoxicate you. And so within that verse, we start to see the origin of alcohol, meaning al ghul, the spirit. It will not carry a demon spirit, and it will not intoxicate you. So the wine that you will drink in heaven will not carry a demon spirit and will not intoxicate you. So for me, I see this as the origin of the word alcohol and the true energy loaded in this word, whereas it's being misdirected and told to people that it's alcohol, which is like powder. So when we look at this verse in the Quran, it reveals to us al ghul, meaning essentially demon, spirit. So that's for me what I've received as like the origin and the energy loaded into this word.
I've been sharing publicly for a couple of years that it means body eating spirit. Alcohol comes from the Arabic term body eating spirit. Is that from your most recent research accurate?
Well, I think it's being inferred that it's a body eating spirit based on our experience of what alcohol does. But let's go back one step and just look at in terms of energy. So when you a and I don't want to say demon and stuff because it carries a lot of kind of religious uh, stigma behind these words. But if we look at um, essentially a spirit that is life preserving, it must essentially eat on itself, or it must eat to remain, to survive. And so there's everything carries a spirit in this life. So we have, you know, plant spirits, people smoke cannabis, ayahuasca carries a spirit, animals carry a spirit. There's we're having a spiritual experience in this human body, right? And so the spirit within alcohol, it must feed upon its host in order to survive. And that's maybe why it's been now widely kind of said that it's a body eating spirit in that sense. It's because it's actually must feed upon the body in order to remain, in order to survive. And we see that even with the way people continue to come back to alcohol. It's not like, it's not as though people are having one-off expansive experiences that are expanding their consciousness and they move forward without needing to drink again. It's like they're stuck looping. So it's like this thing that keeps them preserving. It must preserve itself through this host.
You said, quote, if you need to have a few drinks to feel loose enough to sleep with someone, then you are basically drugging yourself in order to be taken advantage of. I'll say that again. If you need to have a few drinks to feel loose enough to sleep with someone, then you are basically drugging yourself in order to be taken advantage of. Would you clarify that?
Let's reverse it. Let's reverse this to find clarity, because this is what will help us find clarity in these statements, is if we reverse it and see if it still holds merit. If I need to provide a if I'm on a date with a woman and I need to provide her alcohol to increase my chances of sleeping with her, am I not in essence drugging her? Am I not in essence, where's my intention coming from? If I go out for a few drinks in order to increase my chances of sleeping with this person, what are we saying here that I'm doing? All right. I'm trying to lower her inhibitions. I'm trying to put her in a state where she's more likely to want to sleep with me. right? So where does the line go from like a legit, this is very serious stuff here, so I don't say this like easily. Where does the line get drawn between full out drugging her and intentionally wanting to take her out to drinks in order to increase my chances of sleeping with her? Is this like a black and white thing, or is it on a spectrum? And so the question I posed in my stories that I should have put in the post was, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. It was, any man who takes a woman out for drinks in the hopes of increasing the chances of sleeping with her is exhibiting sexual predatory behavior. And so that is easier to understand, right? We can understand that if you're trying to induce a woman into a inebriated state in order to sleep with her, it's predatory behavior. You're preying upon her. And so now when we flip it, if you need to have those same drinks in order to feel comfortable sleeping with somebody, would you be drugging yourself? Because what aspect of you is providing you the alcohol in order to make it easier to sleep with this person? Would you want to sleep with this person if you were sober? Would you want to face your own discomforts in this intimate experience if you were sober? So like, what is it that you are trying to increase the chances of by inducing yourself in this state?
Got it. Got it. I'm sure.
Tell me, I'm curious. What did you make of that? How does that land for you, James?
I mean, it's making me think deeply about all social interactions, whether it's a man trying to seduce a woman, or whether it's a woman just trying to create a connection with a man, or whether it's a woman trying to create connection with a woman, and not even if there's any romantic connotation. It might just be a boss and a staff member, or colleagues, or friends, or someone who's just trying to get into a social group. I guess you could use the same kind of thought process to rethink the drink, so to speak. I know that the example you used was, a man who is, let's say, sexually desiring a woman. However, the same concept works in all scenarios, I would submit.
100%. 100%. And that's why if you're using alcohol as a way to manipulate a situation, let's take sex out of the equation. If you're using alcohol as the way to manipulate a situation, then you have an awareness as to what this substance actually does.
Hmm.
And even if it's coming from a more kind of easygoing place of like, oh, it makes me more open and I'm more social. I'm an introvert, and like when I have a couple of drinks, it makes me more extroverted. So it's not like that serious that it's not as serious as what we've been saying. So, but still, what you're saying is that normally I am a certain type of way. I am deeming that as not good enough. That is not a worthy way of being. And so I must have a few drinks to change my state of being in order to fit in. And then that's what goes with the other slide that I put, which is any connection you make with another person that comes at the cost of a disconnection with yourself, with your soul, is fraudulent by nature. And so what we see in our modern day society is people going out for drinks on first dates, people going out for drinks with their partners, people going out for drinks with coworkers, people going out for drinks with friends. And this is the nature of the relationship. This is how this is how we are social with each other. We must drink, change our state of being in order to connect with one another. And so the question I was posing to people is this a true connection? Are you really connecting with me when our connection is based on me having a few drinks.
Mm.
You're somewhat acting with a few drinks, aren't you? Like, and acting is exhausting. Any actors out there? I mean, it's exhausting practicing lines, taking on a different persona. And so the question I would pose is when you are you in alignment with what I'm submitting here, which is when you drink, you are acting because you are trying to change your true essence
Hmm.
by drinking. Or someone might argue maybe your true essence comes out as a result of drinking the poison and that we're acting all the time without it.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I think by large in part, we are acting all the time. Where for many of us have been acting our whole lives, wearing masks, performance acting, pretending to be what we feel will deem us worthy of love in this society of conditional love, right? In this transactional game, I'm going to appear a certain way in order for James to love me and like me and accept me. So yes, with or without the alcohol, many people are acting, right? I'll go one step further about the alcohol. So we have an understanding, or maybe we don't, but for me, what I look at as when somebody blacks out, this is beyond acting now. When somebody blacks out, what is happening when they black out? What is happening is this is a full-blown possession. That person's consciousness is not what is driving the bus. They don't even remember, they're not aware of what they're doing. So like, if we talk about what it means to be possessed, this would be an indication of a possession. That person is not themselves anymore. Somebody else, something else is driving the bus. And so what I pose here, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, is that this possession does not occur on a flick of the switch thing. It's not a black and a white thing. It's actually happening on a contrast. It's in a gradient. It's on a spectrum. And the more we drink, the more we ingest of this substance, the more we are opening our field up for a bioenergetic possession. And so when you say you are not yourself anymore, or you are acting, I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to say it may not even be you that is speaking. It may not even be you that is getting into these altercations. It may not even be you that is sleeping with that person. It may not even be you that is having a great time laughing. It may be an aspect of you, but I feel as though it opens up our field, it lowers our vibration, and these things, these spirits can really start to attach and take hold. And we see that through a blackout. Like, what's happening during a blackout? You know? So I'm curious to hear what you think, you know?
Well, maybe it's the body eating spirit that's possessing us.
Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about the definition of alcohol or algul, and which definition is the accurate one. But maybe when we're drinking, that is it. That's the body eating spirit that is taking control and possessing us. Hence the word possessed. What was that movie with the young girl who was possessed in the movie, famous movie in the 80s or 90s, horror movie?
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. That's it. When you said the word possessed, I thought of that movie immediately, where the young woman is possessed by the spirit, right? So maybe when we digest this attractively packaged poison, we're essentially digesting a body-eating spirit, both in terms of it's actually eating away at our body, at our cells, because studies have shown that even one seemingly innocent glass of wine a night destroys grey and white matter in the brain. So it's physically destroying us. And then spiritually, energetically, maybe you can elaborate on this because this is your field of expertise more so than mine. It's eating away at our spirit. Or maybe a new spirit is coming in and possessing and taking over. Maybe it's not even eating away at our existing spirit. Maybe it's just come in and just literally like replaced it for that period of time.
Yeah, at the very least, it's disrupting the signal between you and your own soul. And there's a way to feel this. Like, how present do you feel after a couple of drinks? And in terms of the energetics of what's happening, just let's look at our direct experience. How does your body feel the next day? Forget science, forget the woo woo. Just look at our direct experience. After a few drinks, after several drinks, how do we feel the next day? Our energy levels, for the most part, unless you're a rarity out there, or you're like 19 years old or something, our energy levels are shot. We spend the next day trying to recoup. And so it's very evident just from learning from our direct experience that the impact it has on our energy is very destructive. And now in terms of the spiritual aspect of it, many cultures, they recommend avoiding alcohol. In fact, they denounce avoiding alcohol because there's an understanding that what does it mean to be spiritual? To be spiritual means to be connected to your spirit. It doesn't mean to be doing ice baths and meditating and doing tarot cards and all this stuff. It just means to be connected to spirit. And so when we are intoxicated, when we are not in control of this vessel and of our experience, we are disconnected from spirit. And so there is this knowing and there's this understanding in many traditions. You can go from the Amazon, those who are serving medicine in the Amazon, to all over the world. Spiritual masters from all over the world will tell you that to disconnect from yourself, to disembody, is it's missing the mark, right? And that's where people do you hear my dog barking in the background? He's
Yeah, but
going a
it's
little
fine.
crazy. I think he got okay.
It's not intrusive. Continue.
Okay, that's Batman got locked out, I think. And so when we look at the word sin, right, we hear this often. Alcohol is a sin, and religion has a way of shaming and guilting people into correcting their behavior. But when we look at the root word of sin, coming from the Greek origin of like, it means to miss the mark. And so if what you're aiming at is to embody more of the soul within this experience, then to drink alcohol, to disembody, is to miss the mark. And so we start to see this being like we see this as a code, so to speak, from many cultures, many religions, many spiritual masters that are like, hey, alcohol may not be the highest path if what you're aiming at is to anchor in the frequency of your soul, to be connected deeply to spirit. And as we see as well, this this system that we're operating in, some people call it the matrix, some people call it, the slave system. This industrial complex, capitalism, whatever word you want to use, in order to keep us participating in it, right? This Monday to Friday loop, this self-eating loop, alcohol becomes a very important tool to help people stay in this loop, right? To disconnect them from spirit, because ultimately, like, your soul is not going to want to participate in this like Monday to Friday loop that's the same thing over and over. And so go ahead.
And you refer to this as self-abandonment at the highest level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in spiritual warfare, anything that you willingly partake in that weakens the signal to your soul and disconnects you from spirit is self-abandonment at the highest level. They were your words on your Instagram post. So you see all of this as self-abandonment. We're abandoning ourselves.
We are abandoning ourselves, right? Right. When we just even said like,
Ihsan Abass, spiritual teacher and coach. You can find him on Instagram at eyes_in_. It's a little bit challenging, but if you would like to follow some of Ihsan's preachings, I guess, for lack of a better word, you can go to eyes_in_, and you'll find him there. This is a fascinating conversation. I'm enjoying this. He's coming back. Welcome back.
oh, my apologies for that. I wasn't able to really like connect deeply. He's barking at the door outside. So
All good.
okay, so what we were saying, so what you're saying is you're asking, okay, so in this spiritual war, this was my quote, in this spiritual war, anything that connects you from spirit is self-abandonment at the highest level. And so what we see in our society is those who are in power, let's say, they're providing us a plethora of avenues to numb, to disconnect, to avoid ourselves. And this is all by design. I mean, everything is perfect and everything is leading us to develop a greater connection with our spirit and with our soul. But when we see the responsibility we have to cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves, when we are avoiding the self, we are abandoning the self. And so my comment was to really bring into people's awareness, like, are you abandoning yourself when you're going out for drinks? Is there something that you're avoiding? Is there something that you're numbing? Is there signals within yourself that you're dulling? Like, if are you avoiding the signal from your soul that's indicating to you it's time for a change, whether that be a lifestyle change, a career change, a relationship change, something that wants to be shifted within your life? Is this substance, is this agent numbing that signal? Are you turning away from your own communication to yourself? Are you abandoning yourself in the process?
I notice sometimes I do that, not with alcohol. Sometimes I do that with food. I eat very well. I eat very well. I would say 85% of the time I eat very healthy, nutritious food that nourishes me, and I've researched and investigated thoroughly. I very, very rarely eat processed foods or sweets or candy, although I do allow myself some of those pleasures. But I recognize that there are some times when I'm doing business administration, admin work. For example, I'll give you an example. The simplest thing in the world, really, or not the simplest thing, but not the quickest thing. I got to choose my words carefully here. A task that should take probably 5 or 6 minutes at most, and that is going into my online banking and entering a new staff member's bank details and filling out the form. So I'm able to pay them in future and ongoing very simply. And I'm the only person who has access to my checking account. So I'm the only person who can do it. For credit cards, I have assistants who have access. But for debit and cash, I'm the only one. That's a 5-minute task if I just focus on it and I do it. But I will procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate because it actually feels painful for me to have to do that. I have like what's called form phobia. I can't stand filling out forms. I see a form and I'm like, even if it's just asking me for my name, my phone number, my email address, answer a few questions, I essentially get heart palpitations. I'm like, I can't deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. By the way, I just made up the phrase form phobia. I don't even know if it's a real thing, but I'm just saying that to try and articulate. I absolutely hate that. I absolutely feel pain at administrative type stuff, and especially when I have to enter someone's bank details, because I've got to go in, put in their name, and depending on what bank you're using, they'll want to know, is it a personal, the money that who you're sending it to, is it someone's personal account or business account? And often the person, when they send me the details, they won't clarify that. And then I would have wasted time going in there, and then I have to abandon it, send them a WhatsApp message. Is it a personal or business account? And then it goes on and on and on. This can go for days before I actually get to it. And then they'll ask for an address. Well, is it the person's home address or is it their business address? Then the person, and then if I get one number incorrect, it messes up the whole system. Likewise, it asks you to repeat someone's account number. You can't just put in the account number once, you've got to do it twice. But the second time, it asks you to do it so you can't actually see the letter that you're putting in. You can't copy it and paste it because they really, really, really want you to type it in number by number to ensure that you get it right. Now, all of this doesn't sound too painful. And I realize this is a very lengthy story to try and illustrate my point. But the point is that when that comes up, all I want to do is shut down the computer, go out and eat food. And I've noticed that and I've recognized that. And it's happened repeatedly. First of all, I'll procrastinate doing it. I'll say the F word a lot. And then finally I suck it up and I do it. And then invariably there's always one thing missing. And then I'll just slam the computer shut and I'll go out and I'll eat food. Albeit good food, but I'll eat food. Now, in that scenario, is that me abandoning myself? Is that a disconnect? Is that just equally as, I don't know if damaging is the word, or is that are the consequences of doing that of equal significance to someone who drinks alcohol to numb themselves from whatever pain they're experiencing? My pain doesn't seem like that big in the broad scope of thing. However, in my life, it's pretty painful. Are they equal? Are they equally ineffective?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Because what you're avoiding in that moment is this task of filling out a form. But what happens if you don't fill out that form? What happens if you avoid filling out that form? The form doesn't get filled out. The person might not get paid, right? It's like a very kind of linear thing that just becomes more of a pain in your butt and an inconvenience, so to speak.
To be clear, they'll always get paid. They just might not get paid in a timely manner.
James pays his employees, okay, listener.
Yeah.
So let's just look at the outcome, right? So the outcome is that the form doesn't get filled, the thing doesn't get set up, it becomes kind of prolonged and tedious and you know. But what happens on the flip when you're drinking, when we're talking, this is what we're saying, let's go away from just the physical aspect. So you going out and eating, what effect is that having on your physical body? So let's break it down, right? The physical body. Are you going out and overeating? Are you going out and eating a lot of sugar? Like, what is it that you're resorting to with the food?
I would probably say I'm overeating in the sense that I'm probably eating at a time where I'm not really hungry. But I'm eating when I'm not hungry to try and escape the pain that I'm experiencing from the form.
Right.
Now, it is healthy food, but maybe I'm still escaping myself. Maybe the resistance is too much, and I'm needing to like go and seek refuge in another thing. Now, I think logically we can all appreciate that eating healthy food as a way of breaking resistance is a lot better than drinking alcohol as a way of breaking resistance. However, maybe I've abandoned my soul at that point. Maybe I have abandoned or there's self-abandonment going on because I haven't been able to be with the tension. Don't know. Something for me to digest.
Well, tell me a little bit more, like, because you've had your time with alcohol as well, and you feel like, for you to bring it up, you feel that there is a connection here.
Yeah, well,
And so
sometimes
do you feel yeah.
no. Sometimes when I feel stress or anxiety, and I clearly go and break that stress and anxiety with going out and eating food, I sometimes feel the hypocrisy or the potential hypocrisy or the potential
Right.
perception of hypocrisy that I coach folks to stop drinking alcohol and point out that when they're drinking alcohol, it's simply a means of abandoning themselves, or it's with the intention of not feeling what they're feeling. They're stressed, they're anxious. So rather than dealing with that or being with it, they consume alcohol. However, the reality is that when I'm stressed and anxious, I often, not always, but often seek refuge by eating food. Not as bad for the body, but maybe the question I'm asking is, am I being hypocritical there? Are they two completely different things?
Well, I think two things can be true at the same time. So I think it can be true that coping mechanisms exist. We
Mm.
experience undesirable sensations. We go through undesirable events. For you, it could be filling out a form. For somebody, it could be arguing with their wife. It could be a bad day at work. It could be whatever they're deeming as undesirable. And
Mm.
as part of the functions of the mind, it's going to seek to find its comfort. And so we build these coping mechanisms to alleviate the feeling of an undesirable event. And so two things can be true. It can be true that we all have these certain coping mechanisms. Some people smoke weed, some people play video games, maybe just grabbing your phone, even at the elevator, for example. Standing at the elevator, press the button, instantly you feel uncomfortable in your own presence and having to wait, so you pull out your phone. You might be at dinner with your partner or friend. They get up to go to the bathroom. You feel uncomfortable with this void, with this spaciousness of being left alone, and you pick up your phone. So even the simplest of coping mechanisms can exist with our discomfort.
Mm.
So that can be true, that you are reaching for a coping mechanism in times when you are feeling uncomfortable. And it can also be true that alcohol is a poison.
Mm. Got it. Well said.
Right?
I
Because if
like.
you told me every time I feel stressed, I go and I eat celery sticks to calm down, is that the same as going to the bar and drinking 5 pints? I'm going to tell you, no, it's not the same, but it is a
Yeah.
coping mechanism.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
And now you may be abandoning yourself in one sense and the other sense as well.
Yes.
So I do see the parallel that you've drawn there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I like your analogies, by the way, because I do pull out my phone while waiting for an elevator. I've noticed that. I haven't sat and pondered it, but I have noticed it for a second or two every time I do it. I go, oh, isn't it interesting? I'll just pull out my phone. What is going on when we do that? And also when someone goes up to use the bathroom, I do tend to go turn my phone over and look at my phone while I wait for them. What could be going on there with us when we do that?
I think a part of us might just be uncomfortable being alone, uncomfortable in the silence of our own being, uncomfortable in our own thoughts, but also too, like, we are animals, creatures of conditioning. And
Mm.
so a lot of modern day conditioning has reduced our attention span quite significantly. And so the mind is going to constantly look for stimulation. And so you're standing there, you press the button for the elevator, your mind wants the next thing. And so you pick up the phone. You're sitting talking with somebody for dinner, they get up to excuse themselves to go to the bathroom, your mind wants to be stimulated right away. And so some of what I teach is like, can we have discipline over the mind's reach for stimuli? And so can you train yourself when you feel that impulse to pick up the phone? Can you train yourself to just like be with yourself, be observant, be present, look around the restaurant? What do you notice? Can you feel into your senses? Can you feel the bottom of your feet on the ground? Can you be fully present in your body and start to train your presence as opposed to quickly being kind of being led by your mind's desire for stimulus?
Yeah. I'm quite proud and dismayed at the same time. I'm quite proud that I did this intentionally about 3 weeks ago in London, where I was thinking to myself, damn, I spend a huge amount of time on my phone. I'm going to leave my phone at home, go out to dinner by myself and have a meal and come back. And I did. And I went out to a pizza place on a Sunday night. I like to have pizza on some Sunday nights. I eat so well most of the time, but I enjoy the ritual of a pizza on a Sunday night. I went to this pizza place and I sat there in London without the phone and I just observed. And I tell you, it was fascinating to be with myself because it did feel uncomfortable. And at the same time, it felt comfortable observing a whole host of things that I ordinarily wouldn't have noticed if I had had the phone. But I'm praising myself for doing it one night out of probably a year. So now that you've raised this, I'm thinking, wow, maybe if I just create the habit of going to dinner, like when I know I'm going to go and eat by myself, maybe I just create the habit of leaving the phone behind and going to eat and be away for an hour or two to practice the muscle of being with myself and being present with myself. I like that.
Yeah. And then maybe also too, bring the phone with you and don't reach for it.
That's
And then building that level of discipline with yourself that like I don't, because when we have to leave the phone at home, what we're saying is I don't trust myself to not grab this phone, so I have to literally leave it away from me.
That is Jedi mind stuff.
Even
Taking the phone with you and you're not allowed to look at it. Wow.
so like take the phone with you and like trust that when you feel that impulse, because also too, you want to maybe feel that impulse of pulling out the phone and then saying no, and building that friction within yourself to feel the mind pull you to this draw for compulsion, this draw for an atomic response, automatic response, and for you to like exert willpower over yourself to be like, no. And then this is how you're building this like strength over the mind and this strength within your spirit to exert what you feel is in your highest.
I like that. I like that. And in doing so, you're training the muscle of when you crave an alcoholic drink, you decline the craving or you avoid the consumption of the body-eating, spirit attractively packaged poison that we call alcohol.
Yeah.
I like that. Ihsan, this has been a wonderful conversation. This has been eye-opening and thought-provoking and feeling-provoking as well is another way of saying that, because thought-provoking obviously is now we're in the logical part of the brain, we're thinking, whereas feeling is a different type of energy or different type of thing altogether, isn't it? So I thank you for being thought-provoking and feeling-provoking as well. I appreciate that. When you excused yourself a while ago, I did reference your Instagram profile to our listener. Is there anywhere else where our listener might be able to watch some more videos of yours, dig into a little bit more of the profound work that you do?
Yeah, so right now working on getting the website up and having all my workshops and lectures and classes available to be purchased. But right now, thegreatmysteryschool.com, drop us your email. We will get you connected through everything that we're putting out there. And also, I want to just add one last thing for everybody listening, is that I'm not telling you to stop drinking at all. You know, I don't, and I think I can maybe speak for James as well, but like, I don't have vision into what is ideal for you. Once upon a time, somebody could have looked at my life and said, you need to stop drinking. It's hurting you. It's bad for you. Alcohol is a poison. They could have said everything I'm saying today. And although they wouldn't have been wrong, they wouldn't have known the path I needed to travel in order to get to where I am today. And for each person is going to see what they need to see through this experience, through the alcohol, you know, and hopefully James and I added some layers of awareness today through this conversation, and just to open up different things through the experience. So yeah, thank you, James, for having me. Thank you for providing me a space to drop in with you and to connect with you over this. And you're doing great work, man. Honestly, keeping this conversation alive and reminding people of the power of purity beyond this stuff, you know?
Thank you, and as are you. Thank you, Ihsan. Appreciate it. And to you, our listener, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hi, this is James Swanwick, and we're taking applications for our 90-day and 1-year stop drinking programs. Clients are mostly executives, entrepreneurs, and investors who have tried unsuccessfully and repeatedly to stop drinking but remain stuck in a frustrating cycle of stop-start, stop-start. Our programs are not AA, which has a reported 7% success rate. Our programs are not rehab, which has a reported 6% success rate. Our 90-day and 1-year programs involve a safe, fun, virtual community of high achievers with a process that boasts an incredible 92% success rate of clients reaching at least 90 consecutive days alcohol-free. We use the latest neuroscience and personal development processes to help rewire clients' brains around We use the latest neuroscience and personal development processes to help rewire clients' brains around alcohol and minimize its importance in their lives. We will show you how to powerfully socialize with friends, family, and colleagues, what to say and how to say it so people don't mistakenly think that you're an alcoholic or have a problem, and how to eliminate the temptation of returning to constant drinking so you can finally break the stop-start cycle. To ensure client success, Project 90 can only accept 15 new clients each month. Some of those happy clients include John Keltner from California, who said, "I've lost 10 pounds. Susie Vaughn, a real estate broker in Tennessee, who said, "I've generated 20% more leads." Jessica Gaines-Jarbo from Kentucky, who says, "I've now got joy, focus, presence, and clarity." And Joe Worley from Michigan, who says, "My wife has the real Joe back." If you're an executive, entrepreneur, or investor who's sick of the stop-start cycle and the damaging effects alcohol has on your health, happiness, and family, and you're ready to regain confidence, become more present with your spouse and children, reduce stress, anxiety, and irritability, sleep better, increase focus and productivity, and feel better quickly, you're invited to apply to become a Project 90 client. Applicants can apply for an introductory interview by visiting alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90.